Hey, Mystic Michaela spiritual family, welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, do houses hold energy? And what is that? Those vibes you get when you walk into a space. Is that real? Is it in our head? What is it? But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
So what do you think?
Well, I did some research.
Yeah.
I researched 2 homes. I'm not going to tell you yet
which
suspense. 2 homes I researched. It's a surprise. Huge surprise. But, and I don't know if I should give away my findings right now, but, I'm going to say when you used to live on Marie Drive in Buffalo, New York, or was it Hamburg? Hamburg, New York.
Hamburg, New York.
That house definitely had vibes.
Yeah, so the house that you met me in, that was the house I was living at home at the time when we met. So my mom's a psychic, and she did like a lot of readings in the house. And the weird thing is people always said, I love your house, especially this one room in the house. It was like the TV room den. And it wasn't anything special. It had like paneled walls. It had old couches. It was very cozy, but it wasn't like gorgeous or anything. But the number one thing I heard from friends, nobody wanted to leave.
No, it was weird because, when you first start dating, you're supposed to go out to eat in the movies, or back then you were supposed to go out to the movies. Now you're supposed to stream or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never wanted to leave that room.
Yeah, you're gonna blame that on the good vibes or the wallet situation.
Wallet. Well, we did the money episode last week, so
you're like, hey, Meg,
I'll blame it on the house.
Let's just eat toast to here.
Yeah.
Your house has good vibes.
Yeah.
No, but it is true. Like,
no, it really did. It truly, you just didn't want. I mean, you'd have to really pull yourself out of that. Yeah, room sometimes.
It was like a vortex of good vibes.
Yeah, real good
and you
vibes.
could watch anything on TV, and it was just good. And so yes, and I feel like, and then what happened is when I started doing readings in this house, people were saying the same thing here, too.
Right,
They'd be like,
right.
oh, my God, your house feels so homey.
Yes.
Your house feels so great. They don't want to leave. But now I don't do as many in-person readings in the house. Like, I don't do any, really, ever since the pandemic. And I don't hear that as much anymore. But I used to hear it a lot.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, people would always say how homey it is, and they would never want to leave. And then if they came for a reading, they just want to kind of stay. And after the reading was over, like, hey, what do you want to do for lunch? And
right.
Go to the fridge. They started going to our fridge and making the coffee. So
what is it about houses and energy? Like so spaces do hold energy, and we call them vibes usually. And either we're attracted to them, or we feel neutral about them, or we're repelled by them. And the way that I see it is our environment is not a neutral place, and you can pick up on things. And there's 3 reasons why it happens. Okay. So one is emotions and vibes. So like leftovers emotions from those who've inhabited, built, or designed the space. So that's like and I'm going to get into each of these more. The second one is something called geopathic stress. So these are like environmental frequencies we perceive in a way which we can't explain, much like animals can. So this can happen if the space is over like a tunnel or a sewer or a geological fault or radiation or places on Earth that don't feel habitable, even if there's a house there. So there's just something off with the energy. And animals pick up on this very quickly. The difference is they listen and we don't always listen. And finally, something called emotional residue. And I had to look into this one because some scientists believe, and some of this has been backed by research, that there's psychological components from knowing what went on in a space, first of all. So, for example, a lot of people that go into Auschwitz, it's like overwhelming. Same symptoms. They even more. I guess I've never been, but I guess
and that was a concentration camp during World War II.
Oh,
for those that don't know.
Yeah. So I think they even warn people ahead of time. I was looking at, or maybe some tour guides do, some tour guides don't. Like I said, I've never been there, but like, all right, you might feel tightness in your chest. Like they're so used to the medical symptoms and the negativity and the physical effects people feel from walking through there. So, they're like, is this just psychological because they already knew what happened? Or is it just haunted with really bad energy from the sadness that went on there? But there's this other part of it where some researchers have actually, and I'm going to go into this more, have discovered that we leave behind hormones and chemical sense that other humans can perceive and pick up on and react to.
Okay.
So
it seems like the Greens would be really into some of these.
they would
theories.
like that, the
Yeah.
geopathic stress one
Yeah,
and the
the
emotional residue
Yeah,
one.
those two, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I think at the end of this, but
Okay.
let's talk about the first one.
All
So
right, go to the first
emotions and vibes. So every time you have an emotion, it carries a frequency. And that is energy, and it shifts the space. And energy is like a wave, like a frequency, like a radio wave, like a signal from a satellite. It exists long past the time it was sent out. So if there's a really happy experience that occurred in the space that you're inhabiting, or a negative experience, it can imprint this vibe stronger. And the emotions associated with it can become stronger and magnified. I feel personally it can attract like if these people have passed, it attracts their energy, their whatever you want to call it, their souls or their ghosts or whatever you want to call that. And if it's like really positive or negative, I see this all the time. Like there's mirrored experiences. So we were talking about, I forget what episode, how come sometimes a house is nothing, and then a family moves in and it wakes up and it's all this haunting activity? Because energy responds to like energy. So if something tragic or happy happened with like a family, and then and then single men were living there for a while, and then a family moves in, all of a sudden the energy starts resonating with your energy and it amplifies the whole thing.
Okay. So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the answer to it or not, but let's say a home was built in the 1800s. Some bad things went down in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Then, then it settled, whatever. So then that could reappear in the let's say 70s.
Yeah.
So like it just stays there through time.
Well, the way that I think
Waiting for-
we think of things like like there's expiration dates on things,
Right.
because that's how we work in this world. Like if you leave, I don't know, a cheesecake out and you leave it out for like, a month, it's going to stink. And then after that, it just gets petrified and then turns to dust and then goes away. That's not how energy works. Energy doesn't do that. Like it can stay. And I feel like this is where I get psychic lady. But I feel like because it doesn't exist on these planes, the same plane that we're on. So it can move to different planes. It can kind of stall for a minute and then come back to the plane fresh as a daisy, if the right energy hits it. The other thing is apartment buildings versus houses. Energy doesn't stop at a wall. Okay. Like energy, like just you're living next door, on top of, below, anywhere, the hallway. If somebody's going through something underneath you, okay, in the building underneath you, it can rise up and it can affect you. And if you start going through similar things, it can amplify both those energies. What?
That's true. And that could also be physical as well. If things are going on downstairs and then you're on the upper, you could feel things. We lived in an apartment.
We sure did.
That has happened.
We lived in an apartment and it was very interesting downstairs.
Right. And, I don't know. Yeah. Physically,
in a fun way, not in a negative way.
Jumanji.
In a Jumanji way.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
But
No, going back to the point that you were making, we did talk about this earlier when we did the Warrens and Ed Warren, those two paranormal ghost hunters, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
They also said the same thing. Like the energy
did they?
Yeah, the energy could stay dormant.
Yeah.
And then reappear.
Okay, I forgot about that. Yeah. And that's like a real thing with energy. And we as humans feel it. But we're really great at dismissing our feelings. So sometimes, especially like if your dog or cat if I'm reading you and you have a dog or cat and you're in an apartment, immediately they'll show me the energy on like the left side of the apartment or in the hallway because they feel it themselves. So it's a real thing. Okay, so that's emotions and vibes in their own frequencies. Now the second thing, geopathic stress. I found this so fascinating. I had to look into it. So it makes a lot of sense to me. So you know how like some animals they just, it's just a fact. They won't live in certain spots. And then if you took like scientific tools or whatever and went over there, like, oh, it's a higher radiation field here. There's a mineral deposit under the ground. That's interesting. Or it emits this different frequency than this part that they all seem to. So we feel that too. But the difference between us and animals is a developer will come and build it right on top of it. And then we're like, well, we should live there. And we ignore it all and go live there. But that kind of stuff can bother us and affect us. And instead of us understanding that, oh, okay, like this isn't right, and then just listening to it like an animal would, we kind of go into our psyches and we might say, oh, this is bad vibes. Or we might say, oh, I'm going to ignore it because this is this is where I'm living.
Okay, so are these like the examples like when you hear, oh, that house was built on top of an old cemetery from the 1700s or something? Or is that what?
No, it's more like actually earth, like they're a mineral deposit.
Oh, not even
underground water.
Okay.
Tunnels. Okay, so there was this.
Interesting.
There was this. Oh my gosh, in Bavaria. I'm not a scientist, you guys. Where did it? Oh yeah, in Bavaria. It was in Bavaria. This is how they kind of started this study. There were all these houses built on all these people got cancer at the same time, and then a scientist went to go research it, and he realized like everyone who got cancer was like in this weird spot. They all had their bedrooms over a geological fault, like in the town. And some people in the town were like, I don't want to live. Like they listened to it and they just didn't want to live there. Like, and they couldn't explain it. They're just like, I didn't like it. I don't know, weird. But the people that live, they kind of got cancer. Now, there's so much you can look into that, and then they're real clear in the article. They were like, but we're not saying that geological faults lead to cancer. But my point is that they can see that there's a correlation between people having negative effects or negative feelings or symptoms and issues with the earth, just differences in the earth's vibe. So that's the geopathic stress thing. So we can perceive issues in the earth itself, just like animals.
Right.
So that can always be issues with.
Okay. So this is not like man-made things that have happened. This is things that are natural to the earth. Okay.
Yeah, just natural, like just magnetic issues or just whatever it is.
I mean, that falls along the line when you guys were always talking about your crystals. And they're, all your different crystals and the red jasper and all that does and all those other things.
Yeah, it's like it affects you. Okay,
got it.
And finally, emotional residue. And this is, I think, that was a green one that I just did, and this is another green one. All right, so chemical signals from other humans, which lead us to feeling low vibe or off-putting. So studies have found, for example, that a woman's tears, have a chemo signal in them. A chemo signal? A chemo signal? Okay, a chemical signal in which they actually lower men's libidos. So when a woman's crying around you, according to science and research, and this was like researched widely, can pick up just through kind of the air or whatever, and then all of a sudden your libido gets lower. Well, yeah, men hate when girls cry, usually.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
All right, and then I thought this was really funny. They studied the sweat that men produced when they were scared. So they put men in really scary situations and took their sweat. And then they I don't know how they do this, but then they took a group of women and exposed them to that fear sweat, and all the women felt disgusted. Okay. Well, so a man's fear disgusts a woman.
I know I've always heard like people are attracted to your pheromones.
Yeah, it's like
is that kind of like that?
They were calling them like chemo signals or something, but yeah.
Yeah.
So they're saying that. And there's so much research that can be done here, but they're saying like something in a place where something terrible happened, there could be a lot of chemo signals left, and we're just picking them up.
Okay.
And that's something that we're responding to in the atmosphere.
So these chemo, like normally, when I leave the room, the smell goes with it and everyone's happy. But what you're saying, or what they're saying here, is that there's left, like, my smell did not go away.
It's not even a smell. It's like, whatever that is.
Whatever that is. And that'll stay there through centuries.
Well,
possibly.
That's what they're researching. Like, so they didn't have, because that's where it could expire. I'm like, come on, doesn't somebody's pheromone actually, that's biological material.
Right.
So that didn't make sense to me, but I had to give you everything.
Yeah, because even like plastic, they say like, if you drop a, plastic, in thousands of years it'll be gone.
Yeah.
So like, do those leave too after thousands of years?
Yeah, I know. I'm just giving you, this is what people think they're like because there's what happens is, and this is my conclusion. All right. This is what I think. I think there's truth in all of this stuff. And I don't feel like science dismisses psychic or spiritual ability. Actually, I think that's the 3D world trying to keep us separate from it. Because the way science, to me, God or that which is greater than us or whatever you want to call it, I feel like that exists in every natural occurrence on this planet. Science is a way to, I feel, explore spirituality. I don't feel like they're mutually exclusive. And I feel like our body's ability to kind of filter through these feelings, you can call them instinct or just like, chemical signals or whatever, but I feel like it's also your ability to connect with that which is greater than us or the balance of the universe. So I feel like that is spiritual.
All right. I mean, I'm on board here.
Okay.
I'm getting there. We do try to make the paranormal normal here.
We're trying.
So that's what we're trying to do here again. All right, let's take it. We'll do a couple ads, and then when we come back, we're going to do 2 homes. One that has really good, strong, positive energy, and the other one just terrible, negative, evil energy.
Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. I've been noticing that the cats, all 3 of them, have been hanging out around, hovering around the fridge. I think we might have a geopathic stress area over there.
No, it's totally
no.
fine.
Okay.
It's because they know that this is where I keep the smalls.
Oh.
It's a new year, and it was time for me to update my cat food for my precious little fur babies. That's Binks, Dusty, and Rocky. And Smalls was the way to go. It is 2023. Are you still feeding your cat kibble? Because I was. And now is the time to update your cat food with Smalls. Smalls cat food is protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free ingredients you'd find in your fridge. And it's delivered right to your door. Smalls was started back in 2017 by a couple of guys home cooking cat food in small batches for their friends. Today, Smalls has served millions of meals to cats all across America. At this point, you might be wondering, why can't I just feed my cat kibble? Well, when it comes to big pet food, let's just say you do not want to see how the sausage is made, okay? Think pink sludge getting extruded at extremely high temperatures. If that sounds gross, imagine having to eat it every day. Smalls takes a different approach. It is cooked gently, just like food would be in your own kitchen, and they work with leading cat nutritionists to create recipes that are exactly what your little furball craves and needs. After making the switch to Smalls, 78% of cat owners reported their cats had shinier and softer fur, and 90% reported overall health improvements. That's such a big deal. My own cats, they love it, and they look healthier, and they're more spry than they've ever been before. And they love the taste. This is why they're sitting around the fridge at mealtime now. And also I can finally open a packet of cat food and not get nauseous. I actually recognize the ingredients in a packet of Smalls cat food. So remember, higher quality ingredients mean a healthier and happier life for your kitty. So head to smalls.com/KYA and use promo code KYA at checkout for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's the best offer you'll find, but you have to use my code KYA for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's promo code KYA for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. Now, we just spoke about feeding your cats better, but we have to feed ourselves better too. For me, Sakara has been such a lifesaver. I'm always looking for meals that are ready to eat. And Sakara not only has that, but it's delivered to my door. And they actually help me feel and look and just sense my best self. Sakara is the answer, and it's so much more than such a meal delivery program. Sakara is a nutrition program that's like having a nutritionist and chef in one. Their meals are expertly designed to support your goals, from weight management to clearer skin and boosted energy. And also, guess what? They are delicious. Sakara brings expertly designed organic nutrition programs and wellness essentials right to your door. They're science-backed, ready-to-eat meals, deliver results you can see and feel, from weight management and eased bloat to boosted energy and clearer skin. And right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/KYA or enter code KYA at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/KYA to get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/KYA. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. All right, so I was tasked this week to find, a topic, and I like the paranormal. I love the Mothman. Everyone knows I'm a big Mothman fan. And as I was doing some research, I came across what was called the House of Death, which we are going to talk about. And, I was reading about it and all these bad things that happened there. And then I kind of, in my head, I was thinking, well, I'm always like reading about all these horrible things like the Amityville Horror House and, the Warrens finding all the Annabelle doll and all these places being haunted. And I'm like, is there ever a house that maybe has like good vibes throughout its history where you could go kind of see it and it always has a good feeling to it? So that's how this kind of came out. So what I did, I wanted to do like the juxtaposition between one good vibe house and one bad. So I picked the good vibe house was the Brady Bunch home.
Okay.
So I don't know if everyone knows, but the TV show, the Brady Bunch, right? Lovely family, man and wife. They put the family together. Yeah.
I love the remake movies. Those are my favorite.
Yeah, you love the remake movies?
Yeah, those are funny.
So I found the actual house. Now, the show itself, the interior was all taped on Hollywood sets. But the outside of the home was actual footage from this one house. And it's funny because the address stuck out right away, which is 11222.
That's so weird.
Dilling Street, Studio City, California. So 11222 is the address.
I've been seeing that number. Like, I just got chills. Didn't I tell you like a couple days ago?
Yeah, you told me that, yeah.
I keep seeing 1122 everywhere.
Yeah, then I come out and tell you the address. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like been creeping me out.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the house was built in 1959. And then eventually when I think the Brady Bunch started in 1969, they decided that they were going to use this home that was built. It wasn't built for the show or anything like that. The producers of the show basically said, when they were just looking through houses, I'm sure it was close to the studio, but when they were looking at houses, they said, oh, this is a house that an architect would live in. And I think Mike was the dad.
He was an architect.
So
yeah.
That's why they picked it. And all the shots you see of the outside of the house are this actual house at 11222 Dilling Street. So the show went on. In the first couple of years, it wasn't a great success, but it went on to be a huge hit. And it was eventually bought by a family, the actual house.
Right.
And it was just one of the most popular tourist spots in LA.
Wow.
At that time, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe in the 2000s, you went to LA, this was a stop that people would go to.
Oh, really?
In fact, it was at one point, I don't know if maybe it still is, it was the second most photographed house in the U.S.
That's amazing.
Yeah. First one being
people just love it.
Yeah, they love it. First one being the White House. But after the White House, it is the second most, they say. So people love it. A little bit about the house. It's a ranch style, split level. We'll put up some pictures. I mean, most people probably have seen it. It was 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2 master bedrooms. It had a very unique layout, about 2,400 square feet, and it had a nice backyard for that area. In LA, it's hard to get land, and it had a nice, large backyard. So people loved it. They would come by, they would take pictures. Now, if you or I lived there, because someone bought it, I think, in 72, someone bought it. Another family bought it. We'll get into that in a second. Now, people coming by all day, taking pictures all day. If you and I owned the house, my red would just be like, what are you doing on my property? Could you guys go away?
You'd have a big old privacy set.
Right.
Keep out.
Keep out. You would be like, every time you saw a car drive by, you would run upstairs, go under the blanket, watch Netflix covered. But the people that bought it, the McAllister family, loved it. They loved having the people come by.
Oh, that's nice.
They welcomed.
That's nice.
Yeah. It just had such good vibes. They people would stop by. They would take pictures. They would kind of wave to them. They would say hello. Members of the cast would stop by at times. Like, the boys and the girls would stop by. They did film a few scenes in front of the house that they would be there for that too. But the family, they just absolutely adored it. I gave you a picture of the granddaughter of the family that owned it. Violet McAllister was the remaining survivor who owned the home. She bought the house in 72, like I said, for $81,000. And then her granddaughter, Kelsey Whitmer, sold the home when she died. But she gave this interview where she talked about how it was the greatest place ever to grow up.
Oh, wow.
And I gave you her picture, which is very interesting because she looks like Maureen McCormick, who played Marcia.
She looks just like Marcia. It's weird. Like, I thought, I'm like, is this the actress?
Yeah.
Because that's what she looks like. Blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah, could you give us first vibes of the house?
Yeah.
because, this is how we do it here. We don't do the scientific data. We just ask Mystic Michaela what she thinks. So tell us, what do you... If she says it's a good vibe, it's a good vibe.
People should get there with their...
Yeah.
If this was like a higher budget show, we'd be there with our like beep, 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 beep equipment everywhere and be like, exactly.
If anyone wants to fund that, let me know.
Please. Looking for backers for Scott's dream show where that's what we do.
All right. Move over, Max Planck. Here comes Mystic Michaela.
I don't know what that is.
Tell us what you get from this house.
I don't know what you're saying. Okay, so there's 2 pictures. I think the one you gave me was like I think one's present and one's past or something.
I think they're both at the time. They were different lighting. I give you 2 different lighting.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, because one looks different. Like the landscaping looks different.
Might be a little newer or something. Yeah.
Okay, because landscaping's totally different. Anyways, this is what I get from the house. Trying. It feels like it's trying. Like, and it's weird. So when a house has a really good vibe, it has like a personification. It's like becomes part of like a member of the family, and it likes to. This house it feels like it has lovely vibrations. Like it just wants to be a home. It wants to support a family. It wants to play its part the best. And what's interesting is, so when I talked about the 3 things that you get on it, like this one is like emotions and vibes. So obviously this house absorbed and was projected upon a lot of happiness and positivity. I mean, just that show was kind of like the hope of the show and the quintessential like blended American family and how it all worked out. And and I feel like people probably put a lot of faith in that family, and it was like very American or whatever. But this house feels like it kind of absorbed a lot of that. And then the people who purchased it, I bet them living there and just like incorporating it into their own family, like, hey, we're part of that too. We can give that to people that come, and we can partake in it. So there's this exchange of positive energy. So the house to me feels like it's trying. That's what it feels like to me. Like if you bought this house and lived in it, it wants to support you in your American dream, like that. Like that's what it feels like to me.
Okay.
So yeah, it does. And it's not like it's a very 70s home or whatever it is. Like whatever it's a very dated home.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. Like, and usually that's not my style, but I would live there. Like I would. Would you live there?
Yeah.
Would you live there?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's not my style at all. Like, usually I go for, like, older homes or something like that, like, in a different style. Yeah. But, like, this, to me, it just feels welcoming.
Yeah. I mean, I would transport it out of L.A., move it to another part of the country. But other than that,
yeah, that's your only problem.
Yeah, I would live there. But, yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, they said they definitely kept it up. They tried to keep it looking nice. They tried to present it a welcoming feeling when people would come.
Yeah.
But it's just so strange that there would be a family that would do that, even because most of the time you buy a home, and they bought it for $81,000 in 1972, which is probably a lot of money for a house back then. And you would think you'd want a little privacy. No, they really welcomed.
They really liked
the
joy.
It brought them such joy. Yeah, it seems like they were as wholesome as the TV family. The Bradys.
And it's weird that the granddaughter looks just like Marsha.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What do you get from Kelsey?
So just looking at her, I feel like she's trying to like it's a kind of it matches the vibe of the house.
Okay.
Like I guess like how do I say this? Like you'd think it's made up. It's so nice, but it's actually genuine.
Right.
That's what she feels like. Like you'd think it's fake. Like oh please, nobody's like this. Nobody is that happy. But no, it is. Like that's what the vibe she gives me. That's the vibe the house gives me too. In a way, like come on. Like all that pessimism that people have, like that, it doesn't hold there. But the show was like that too.
Yeah.
Like it was like, come on, they get along that well, like that. But they do. Yeah. They do.
Well, and that's what I was trying to find. I was like all right, I'm going to find something here that's negative about this place. And I couldn't find it. Well, now, maybe that's how it's written about. I don't know. But I couldn't find anything on the negative side of this.
Talking about that mirrored energy thing, when a place has a certain vibe, it tends to attract the same vibe or mirror the same vibe. That's what tends to happen. So it's interesting that the kid that lived there looks exactly like Marsha, and then the vibe of the house is exactly like the vibe of the show, and it's definitely bringing people in who have that energy and supporting it and amplifying it, which is what I talked about.
So could emotional, and now this is outside of the home, it's not in the home, could the emotional residue that we talked about earlier maybe of all these people coming by and taking pictures and loving it, could that have spread to the home?
I mean, that's one of the science things.
Yeah,
like, I guess so.
I guess. All right.
Like, maybe there's like a happy mineral deposit under it too. I don't know.
That could be too, right?
But
we're just taking the Mystic Michaela take right now.
Right,
all right.
right.
Well, as it turns out, the grandmother who owned it, she died, she passed, and then they sold the house, and there was a massive bidding war. Everybody wanted this house. Maureen McCormick, who played Marsha Brady, was trying to get in on it, but she realized it was just so much competition that she backed out. Lance Bass from NSYNC. Was he NSYNC?
Yeah.
Oh, I got that right? Okay.
Yeah, good job.
He wanted this home so bad.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, he took a tour, and he was quoted as saying, "This was one of the happiest days of my life." Okay, just going into the Brady Bunch house.
Wow, he felt that.
Yes.
Powerfully.
Now remember, this is I don't remember what part he was in NSYNC. All the people that listen probably know this much better than me. But this is a guy who was in a huge band, probably had many great days in his life. And he's saying this is one of the happiest times of his life. And he actually was so distraught that he did not get the home. But then it was bought for, I think, $3.5 million to HGTV. And that kind of annoyed me too. I'm like, why didn't just, Lance Bass should have got it.
Yeah.
Or someone else. Giving it, I mean, I like HGTV, don't get me wrong, a good House Hunters on a Saturday night. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that's really sad. I just said that.
It's
Good
okay,
House
Scott.
Hunters on a Saturday night.
Scott, it's okay. We'll process that later.
Yeah, process that later. And then HD did get it, and then Lance, gave a statement that he was happy that they got it,
All right.
and they did a whole reality TV show. And I got here, I was like, I got my red started coming out. Like, I don't know. I'm sure they did fine by it, but to me, it should have been a single.
What they do, like
owner.
a renovation show?
Yeah, they did like a renovation show.
I think I remember that actually. Yeah. And I think they said something like the most viewers or something they got for it. Was it the Property Brothers did it?
Yeah, the Property Brothers. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I couldn't read those articles because it.
Then you got angry because you want a family to keep.
Yeah, I wanted another family to.
I knew you were going to say this, so I just googled. The house now.
Okay.
And this was on February 2nd, 2023. So isn't that crazy? This is the house now. There's like a fence in front of it. See?
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
It looks different. It feels sad.
Oh.
It feels lonely.
This was the hope that there would be a house that would always stay good.
I know.
Because
I'm sorry.
that's what they did. They put up a barrier.
Fence, so people can't go on it anymore.
Yeah,
take pictures.
Yeah, because before they can go up, they could talk to the owners, they could take their pictures.
It feels
probably weren't
lonely.
selfies at that time, but
it feels like it got put in a zoo. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like behind bars. And now it's just like, it just wants kids and fun and play and family and tradition. It doesn't have anything anymore. I hope they sell it soon to a family.
Yeah. Okay, so you know what? I was picking up the house's energy. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Right.
But I was so upset that HGTV bought it.
Yeah.
Out of, and it should have went to either like maybe Marsha Brady or someone else or a family or something.
And that's your red aura way of picking up a vibration. You're going to get angry about it.
Right.
We're talking about this over in the psychic workshop that we're running about how feelings are actually carrying your vibrations, the emotions you have carry psychic messages. So I just feel really sad. It makes me sad. So and the house itself now feels lonely because it just wants to keep trying. It's very sad.
It wants to keep trying. Okay.
Yeah.
And for me, I couldn't even read the articles. I stopped my research at that point.
You got really upset for the house.
Very upset.
It was like the underdog now, the house.
So, all right, there was my theory of one positive place going down the drain. All right,
sorry. Well, hopefully they sell it to they can't keep it forever.
Yeah, and maybe they'll tear down that fence and a nice family will come out and you can take pictures with them again and it'd be nice.
It's all be good.
All right. Now we're going to what we usually talk about.
Ooh.
The house. This is dubbed the House of Death.
Okay.
It's as scary as it sounds.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh, chills.
So
I don't know. Maybe trigger warning?
There is going to be a trigger warning towards the end. You don't have to get the trigger warning yet.
Okay.
But I will give you the trigger
warning.
warning
give it to them.
before the last
Got it.
portion. All right. And again, we're not using Ernest Rutherford here. I'm just naming scientists, by the way.
I'm like, who are you talking about?
He was a famous quantum theory
You're
scientist.
so smart.
Yeah. I took the history of science one year in college.
You did?
Yeah.
And you got that rote memory. So if I took that, I wouldn't remember
Schrodinger's
anything.
cat. You put the cat in the box, put the poison, did the cat die, all that jazz. All right.
That's disgusting and awful.
I know. Terror scientists,
Trigger warning. Backwards.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, here we go. We shouldn't be laughing about the House of Death. All right. 14th West 10th Street in Greenwich Village. We've been to the Village. We went there once on Halloween.
That's
a
trip.
site.
That was a trip.
That's a trip. That's a whole other story.
That was fun.
Go to the Greenwich Village on Halloween night, and you're in for a treat.
Yeah, we just ran into it too. We were like, what is this?
Going on? Megan, where are we? I try to do your voice.
A voice of me doing your voice?
Yeah, it was me doing it. Exactly. All right, so this house was built in 1856. It was a beautiful home when it was built. It was just for one family. It was built for the wealthy. It was built for prestige. It was on a beautiful street, kind of like a statement house for the time. Nothing happened till 1897. And this is a little bit of a stretch here, but we'll go with it. There was a famous cyclist that bought the home. His name was Fred H. Andrew. I didn't give you a picture of him, but while he was cycling, he was this famous cyclist, hit a boy, broke the kid's leg. He was at fault, and he went to jail for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that is like the first, like...
Why? Was it an accident?
No, I guess it was, I don't know, it was his fault or whatever. But it's the first, like, kind of...
They were harsh back then.
Yeah. Riding a bike, break a kid's leg, go to jail.
I feel like there's more to that story.
Yeah, you can't find too much on it. But,
yeah.
But I just wanted to kind of set the stage that this is like the first time you get bad luck.
Okay.
All right. But truly nothing really happens there yet. You know, again, 1856, that's 1897. And then in 1900, a very famous resident moves in. Okay? And that is Mark Twain. Author, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, and he only lives there about a year. Okay, he comes to the home, and I gave you a picture of Mark Twain. I don't know if you could read that picture from the early 1900s. You can check it out if you want. But,
okay.
He comes to the home, and I looked up the history of what was going on in his life at that time, at the turn of the century, 1900. He was depressed. He had lost a kid.
Oh.
He was he had made some really, really bad investments. He actually got involved with some scientists too, and the inventions didn't go the way they should have, and he invested what was like equivalent to like $9 million today. Not then, today's money.
Yeah, I know, but still.
Yeah, just a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
And he was basically he went over to Europe for a while, and he was basically coming back a pauper, after writing some of the, most famous, I don't know how famous it would have been at that time, but very famous novels. But and he had a publishing company that he botched it. He really...
So he was in a bad spot.
Yeah, he was in a bad spot. A lot of people, thought he was very depressed at the time. Of course, he was practically broke. Now, also Twain, he is known as he was very into the paranormal. He was really into this stuff. But he was also like me. He was a skeptic. So... he claimed to have premonitions. He had claimed to have a premonition of an accident that was going to happen to his brother, and then it happened.
Oh, wow.
He believed in, telepathy, things of that nature. After his daughter passed, they attempted seances and things like that. So he was a skeptic, but there was room there. He did write a couple stories about how ghosts are total BS and all that, too. Okay, so anyway, he's there one night. He's sitting there, and a large piece of wood kindling moved through the air, he claimed. This is him saying, all by itself. He takes out his gun.
Oh, my God.
Shoots it. It falls to the ground, and underneath it are drops of blood.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That's what Mark Twain said.
That's
now,
creepy.
He thinks a rat lifted it. He claims at some point that a rat lifted it up.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of rats in New York City. But
yeah, maybe.
That could be like a super rat, like Rat Man or something.
Was he a drinker,
Ant-Man.
though?
Well, like I said, it was a bad time for him. I don't know. I gave you 2 pictures of him. I don't know if you could get anything off those. But if you can, great.
Okay,
if
so
not.
Generation, like when I read old photos, you got to understand sometimes the auras are different because of the the cultural time, and just the generation or whatever. But he's green and purple. He's wearing like an authentic blue in this one photo.
I think that's an older one. Yeah.
Yeah, and he looks really. And he looks like he's got an issue with drinking or something. I don't know, but that's what it feels like. There's something off to me.
Yes, definitely could be.
Okay. And I get with him, it's like very angry. And I mean, well, everything, sometimes it's like everything you like.
Yeah,
if
I
I had
know.
said that I would have said he feels angry, like he's overusing a substance, and he's in kind of like a really hazy spot. The other thing, honestly, I wouldn't trust a lot of what he said.
Okay.
That's the other thing. He feels like he's a little bit like, I don't know, like he's in his own world, I would say. So there's like a haze around him, a haze that is buffering him from reality. So I wouldn't want to say like delusional, but because not that. I mean more kind of like stubborn towards how the reality, a distance from reality, which makes him just to me not the most trustworthy narrative of anything.
Right. I guess it's a strange story to tell as well.
Yeah, but that's interesting. Yeah.
And he only lived there 1 year. Then he moved out. Now, here's the weird part. And people... Now, he moved out. I think he moved to Connecticut from there. And he died. He doesn't die in the home. He dies in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. Okay? But people claim, many people claim, that Mark Twain haunts that house.
I just got this weird
weird
feeling, like looking at this, like, and I don't know what this means, but just looking, because you gave me a picture of the home too, and I just got, like lots of doors and closets.
Okay.
And I don't know what the heck that is.
Okay.
But a lot of like weird doors, weird closets, and like passageways that are closed off, but something with things that should be closed off but aren't, or don't. So something's weird about. I don't know what that means.
No, well, it is interesting. It was like I said, it was one time a single family huge home, and then in the 1930s they took it and they made it into apartments.
Oh, okay.
They made it
So
into
it's all cut up.
Yeah, they cut it up, chopped it up. Weird rooms here.
Okay.
There was like quarters for servants and things like that.
Okay.
So, and now I think they turned it into 10 apartments.
Oh.
But a lot of people have claimed that you'll see him on the stairwell.
Somebody doesn't have to die somewhere to haunt the space.
Oh, okay.
You really don't.
Yeah.
Because if you put enough, this is just like ghost stuff, how I get it. If you put enough energy in one spot, it's almost like, like on your phone, you can drop what do they call that? My car is parked here, drop a tag or whatever. I feel like you can do that with your energy in different places and spots in your life at different times. It makes it easier for your energy to come back to it from the other side.
Okay. I mean,
drop a pin. Like drop a pin.
Drop a pin, yeah.
Like you kind of do that like energetically throughout your life.
Okay.
Like you might like really like, happy or sad. I think people drop pins.
All right. Well,
with their souls, and then they can come back.
He apparently dropped one in this house.
Okay.
So later on in the 30s, a mom and her daughter moved into one of the apartments, and this is what they claim that they heard from Mark Twain.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Clemens, and I have a problem here. I gotta settle.
Oh my God.
Clemens is Samuel Clemens' original name.
Yeah.
My name is Clemens, and I have a problem here. I gotta settle.
I got chills. It's really creepy.
That's what they heard him, the spirit say.
Yeah.
Mark Twain.
Okay.
Really weird. Okay. Let's fast forward a little bit. So next to move in. Okay. So, and these are also they were also rows. So there's buildings attached to them. So there's buildings on each side.
Like a row house.
Like row houses. Mm-hmm. So then they take, like I said, they take this house, they move it into 10 apartments. Someone who moved in, again, late 30s, was Jan Bryant Bartell. Okay. So she was an actress. She was a writer. She was a psychic. She also moved in with her daughter, by the way. So I don't know if that's mom and the daughter. And then,
well, daughter, because he would have been attracted to the daughter's energy because he lost a daughter, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So as soon as she moved into the home, and again, she claims, she's like, I gave you a picture of her off her book, but she wrote a book called Spindrift. Very hard to get your hands on this one. I tried fiercely to get a copy of it, but it's like in rare books. You can get one for like $200 or something like that. But she tells about all these things that happen in the house, kind of like the Amityville horror house. And she, it's the same stuff you hear in all of these.
That's crazy.
The differences in temperature, people, the marching band that played.
Oh, the loud, wow.
Yeah.
And this is way before all that.
This is way before the Amityville horror house, yeah.
Way before any of that was like out there or published or talked about.
Yeah, this is before, were the Warrens getting going around there? But they wouldn't have been published yet. The chilly, the damp, the rotting, rotting smells.
The smells. Yeah, that's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. She claims that Mark Twain inhabits the house of spirit.
Okay.
She claims that there's 22 spirits that roam this home.
Okay.
Including a cat, a gray cat, I don't know if you get a great cat today, but I show you the pictures of the houses. You can look at that. And then she claims in the book there was this time period of death. So it started with her dog. Her dog died. And then people started dying in the apartment complex.
Wow.
Like 9 people. And then she was the 10th. She died. They weren't sure. She died pretty much right after the book was published.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so she like saw the pattern.
Yeah.
And then she actually died.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and first she lived in the building next door, and she felt stuff, and then when she moved over to
well, that
14,
stuff can spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Like, just because there's a wall doesn't mean the energy stops.
Yeah. Now, could you I gave you the book, which is so old, and I don't know if you can get it.
Well, looking at her,
it's a picture of her book.
Now, again, like, talk about the generational thing. This woman's incredibly purple.
Okay.
And blue. So for that time period, like, she's a very loud aura color, especially for a woman of that time, and her generation, everything like that. Like, she must have been very different, very ahead of her time, but very noticeable to society as someone that they'd want to like hush or brush aside or not treat the same or whatever. But she's very self-aware of it. She's very much around this situation. I feel like she's a protector of the house in some sort of people wanting to go to that house or something with the house in some way. I do get her wanting to kind of like put a barrier. So I wonder if this is just what I get.
Okay.
Because when I look at her and then I look at the house, I feel like she tries to keep people from living there or tries to warn people or tries to protect people from the energy there.
So it is an evil energy there.
Well, when I look at the house, because you gave me a picture of the house, the bottom floor feels the most stressful to me, but I get this kind of, hold on. All right. Hold on. Okay. Sorry. I have to. Yeah. I get. Well, maybe it's not the bottom floor. Maybe it's like I don't know how this works, like with the street. Maybe it's the first floor or something.
Because there could be a garden.
There might be a garden entrance. Yeah. So not that one, but the one above it.
Okay.
Anyways. So maybe the second floor. I don't know what that is. Anyways. When I look at it, it just feels. It feels hotelish, but not in a good way. So I just get like a lot of transients in it. And it feels like not upkept. And it feels like it doesn't want an owner. And again, it has a personality, but not in a good way. It feels very much like a void is what it feels like to me. And I think and it's weird because like I see a little bit of the houses on either side. They don't feel that way.
Yeah.
They feel more like, okay, whatever. Like this one feels kind of like, I think the vibe would be is like, has this been empty a while? Has this changed hands a lot? Who's the manager of the building? Where does the owner live? Like those would be, I think, the questions you'd ask if you walked into this building and you started feeling things. You'd try to get your finger on like where's the origins of this situation? Like what's the intention behind this home? And I also I get something with water in the house that's really, I don't know if it's, now this could be like one of those geopathic things because I don't know if the piping's not good or there's something with the water quality, or there's something, sometimes I get paranormal stuff with water issues, but it feels like there's water issues in this space, and it doesn't feel healthy to me.
Okay. That's pretty freaky.
Why?
No. Well, I want to tell you the last story.
Okay.
That really gives it the name, the House of Death.
Okay.
And we're going to put out the trigger warning right here. All right, so November 2nd, 1987. And I gave you this picture. I didn't tell you anything about this one.
Okay.
Of a little girl. I'll just use her first name. You could all look. This is looked up. It's public. Named Lisa. And
oh my God, I was just going to say Lori because I got an L name. I should have just said it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. This is really hard to look at. I do feel like she's dead. And I feel like she died in the home. And I feel like, did a man do it to her?
Yes.
And it feels like some sort of father figure. Maybe not dad, but some sort of figure of fatherhood to her.
It was dad.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Was there a dog, too? Or did she have an animal? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think so.
Okay. So I get this really strong feeling of not just death. There was some sort of horrific situation leading up to it with where she wants to stay as a child because like what happened to her was not, I get abuse. So I get torture and abuse, like that sort of thing.
Yes. So yes, you were 100% correct on
God.
all of this. I think I gave you she was 6 when she died. I think I gave you a picture. I don't know if she was 6 in that photo or not.
Yeah, she looks about that.
Yeah, the father was a lawyer. Her mom, Hedda Joel was the father. Hedda she was a publisher. So it seems like a typical normal family,
right?
But it was a house,
yeah.
Right? I know. Again, this house with this bad energy and everything. But this guy was a psycho. He a lot of drugs. There was a lot of. Yes, a lot of abuse, a lot of physical abuse to the kids. There was also a brother. They found him tied up when they came to the home, and he was soaked in his own, bodily functions.
That's terrible.
The wife was beaten, and the girl was dead. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a terrible.
So this like made the headlines.
Oh, this was huge headlines.
So this was like So this is like the house of horror. Everybody now knows, like, what's that house that happened at? Oh, my gosh.
Right. So
that.
Right. Because remember, the book came out by Jan Bartel.
Right, because the book.
Yeah, they had the book out. It was actually a decent hit at that time.
Wow.
And then for a while it was a hit. And then, so people knew of this home.
Right.
And weird things being it. Mark Twain always being seen there. Weird, odd things happening. But then this one made it the house of death in 1987. And when the police came there, they were just...
It was like a scene.
It was a scene. Wow. And I think I gave you a newspaper clipping of the time.
Wow.
And what they saw was just... They couldn't believe it. They just couldn't believe it.
Well, what's with the house now? Because it just feels like all over the place.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I think they have like a plaque like Mark Twain lived here. And like there's some signs up like museum as part. I don't know. I kind of get freaked out after I read this story.
Yeah.
Kind of like the same thing with the opposite one.
Like that psychic lady who wrote, she knew the house was bad.
It was bad.
And what's interesting is with that guy, the man that killed
Joel, yeah.
Joel, okay. Did he get worse in the house? That's my question. Because that's like Amityville.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like those other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, like where the men like blame it on the house that they start getting abusive and angry and different. Yeah. Like, did he blame it on that, or what happened to him? He went to jail.
He went to jail.
Or...
Yeah. No.
He got out.
Yes.
What?
17 years he got.
That's it.
Yeah, for murdering his kid. Yeah, 17. That's it. He didn't even get first degree. I think he got second degree. Why? Because they claimed he was like binging cocaine. He was out of his mind.
Okay.
And I don't know. Maybe he had a good lawyer. I don't know. Well,
I don't think
he was a lawyer, so
cocaine doesn't make you do that.
No, I know. I don't know how. I was shocked too. I'm like, how many?
Wow.
What happened is 87. I don't know if he'd still be alive today.
Oh my God.
It's another. Was that 20, 25? That's like 35 years later. I don't know how old he was then, but
wow.
Yeah, you'd think this guy's life in jail, right?
Yeah.
No, 17 years. He got out in 2000 something.
Wow.
2000, would that be 2004 he got out.
Messed up, man.
The wife didn't go to jail either. They did press charges on her for just abuse, like letting this stuff happen.
Yeah.
But, she was also abused. They probably had the other kids, so they probably didn't want the two parents in jail, for the son, Mitchell. But
that's like a horrific story.
Yeah.
It's like people do your research before you move in somewhere.
Yeah.
I think there's just from the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family page, there are every state, I guess this I learned because somebody moved into a house where this horrific murder happened. I think we talked about it on here. And they didn't know until the neighbors were like, "Oh, like that." And then oh my God, I'm sorry because that's off the cuff. Otherwise, I'm sorry, member who posted this because you know who you are and you put such an awesome account of the house and stuff. And her kids started noticing, like the dad killed everybody or something. And then there were kids and the kids started noticing like they were playing with the ghost kids. My point is is that I guess every state has its own law, whether you can know what happened in the house before you or not.
Okay, so some states you can.
Some states you can tell, some states you can't.
Wow.
So my point is like, talk to neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to look into that to see if anyone lives there today. They might have shut this down at some point. I don't know. I have to look into that.
Maybe if it was just like a museum. Or do people still live there? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll try to find it and put it in the Facebook
try to
group.
Update that.
After I read the story.
That's disturbing.
Yeah,
you went dark. You spent so long looking for that Spindrift book.
Oh, no. I was, because I was given the task to find something paranormal this week, which I love to do. And, for like this actually was supposed to be a few weeks ago, this episode, but for like 3 weeks, I became obsessed with this house. And this happens to me.
Wait, what's her name? Jan?
Jan, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you anything because she just feels so present. She was working through you.
Jan Bartel, yeah.
And now that I got that protector vibe on her, she's probably just trying to elicit your help and getting it. Not that we're some huge broadcast, but hey,
no, it was weird,
don't live there.
Yeah,
maybe she's trying to tell you, help.
It could have been because I was really trying really hard because I wanted to read the book, her book, and then do the thing, but I couldn't get it. And then you found it
did.
Right away
in 2 seconds.
And it was on, but I had to read it online.
Well, yeah,
and I can't. I read some of it, but I cannot read a book.
I can't read online.
I can't read a book on the computer.
But I did find it.
Yeah, you did find it right away. I'm searching for weeks.
I'm like, what's her name? What's the name of the? Here it is, Scott.
Yeah,
you can just
my red. I'm
here
debating.
It is. Somebody scanned it, and it's all online.
Yeah, there it was, and I read it. I read parts of it. I couldn't read the whole thing, but yeah, there I am. Should I buy this $200 copy for this one episode? My cheapness is playing a part here. Part of me's like, just do it, buy it. Then I'm like, well, what if I don't like it?
But I found it online. I'm like,
yeah, you found it in 2 seconds.
Just read it online.
I should have asked you. I mean, I spent 2 weeks looking at this book.
Just read it online. And all right, anyway,
I mean, if anyone has this book, let me know.
Because you can't read it online.
Yeah, Spindrift. It's called Spindrift Spray from a Psychic Sea.
But I'm trying to say, maybe she's trying to, because I don't know where. Yeah, come through you.
It could be.
To keep people from living in this home.
Okay.
Seriously.
Well,
and understanding what's happening there and understanding what happened to that little girl.
Yeah.
Because.
Yeah. No, I know no member of the Mystic Michaela spiritual family is moving into that house.
I mean, there's so many old houses with so many bad things that happen in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess I should just round it up with, I wasn't even planning this, but you should always make a space your own.
Okay.
Always. We just went into a restaurant the other day, and it used to be we were just eating at this local restaurant, and he's like, I don't know, because it used to be this other restaurant, and everybody hated that one, and it's new ownership, and he's like, I don't know if I got to sage. And in my head, I'm like, you didn't already sage? Oh my God, that's why you keep getting the bad Yelp reviews from people that think you're the old place.
Right.
Anytime you go into a space, I don't care if it's your office. I try to do this before, if I do speaking presentations or whatever, and obviously my home, and then every once in a while the house again. You have to make it your own. If I have sage spray, which is just spray. It's just that scent in a spray. I mean, you can make your own aromas. Lavender is really good. Rosemary, Palo Santo. But my point, and you go around and you just open all the windows and doors if you can, and just insert your own energy in the home and tell all the energy that is not energy to please exit. And it will.
All right. Well, after doing this research, I am a believer that these places hold something in them. I felt it myself. I've never been obviously near this house of death, although I want to go now.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
I don't know if I'd go in, but I do want to go outside it.
I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Would you go anywhere near that house? No.
Nope.
Would you go to the front door?
No. I wouldn't even touch it.
Would you go to the street?
I mean, the street's just the street.
Because they said that there's been cases spreading to the house, the attached homes.
Yeah, it's it's ugh.
Yeah.
That stuff's infectious. So, you got to stay away.
I believe it. I'm a believer in this one. So
I can put up a wall, but I wouldn't test it.
No, I'm a believer. But all right, I don't want to end this on this death note with this poor child. So I say we do an overtime.
Overtime.
And, and I have one planned. This is premeditated.
A planned overtime.
Planned overtime. So speaking of making a space your own.
Well, real quick overtime.
Yeah, okay. Oh, all right.
You may leave now.
Yes.
I don't know what's going to be said. It could be insulting. It could not be for little ears. If you have well, this whole episode wasn't really for little ears. The last part,
right?
But that's your warning. Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
You can go now.
All right. So like you said, speaking of making a space your own. Go ahead.
So yoga this morning. I've been laughing all morning. By the way, I've been holding it like.
I can't believe this happened.
Okay, so. We go to yoga on Fridays at the Y, with Chuck and the foot fetish and all that. And so I usually take the back spot. I always get the back spot, back corner, my own little space. I'm a great social distancer. And you put your mat, what is it, like 3 feet between, away from me.
You have your yoga rectangle.
Right.
And then I put my yoga rectangle, my mat, right 3 feet in front of you.
Right.
So we're like, me, you.
Right. And I do this because...
3 feet in between us, ish.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, maybe 3 feet or something like maybe a little less even. But I do this because then, I have the back, so I get the back wall. And then I got you in front of me, so I know I'm not going to get anyone in front of me.
Yeah, like no one's butt's going to be in your face but mine.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Which it is all the time.
Right.
But so we're just there, we're doing our warm-up, and this lady comes in, takes her mat, and puts it right between, this never happened before, your mat and my mat.
Okay, just a little setting. This is the YMCA, and we love, I don't know, can I say that? I don't know.
It's a great place.
It's a wonderful place.
It's a wonderful place.
It's wonderful, but it is in Florida. And it's been known to have a couple South Florida purples wander in.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I don't know what this, yeah, exactly.
So I'm just trying to say, this isn't, I don't know. It's a class at the Y. You know what I mean?
Sure. It's a great class, and we do it all the time. But anyway,
we love our class.
That's irrelevant because this lady comes in. So now she's in between us. And I would say there was probably, let's say, 3 inches from her mat to my mat and 3 inches from your mat to her mat. And so I'm like I obviously make this face. And I'm like, and I tell her, what are you doing? Like, what? And she's like, just looks at me. And I'm like, there's not enough room. It's going to be too tight to stay there. It's just too tight of space because, you got to take your leg and you got to twist it and you got to put a leg here. And like you said, body parts all body parts would have been touching at some point with her right in between the middle of us. So, I'm trying to get her to move, and I keep telling her, there's not going to be enough room. It's too tight in here.
So this is what happened. So I'm on my mat doing, child's pose, and you're on your mat doing some sort of triangle thing. And she plops her, and all of a sudden I'm like, what is that? And it's like a woman with her mat in between the two of us. And she's odd. You can tell she's just an odd person. And, she's odd. And you're like, and I'm never going to say anything because I'm like, oh, I'm so scared for confrontation. And you go, excuse me, it's too tight here.
Yeah.
You don't want to put your mat here. This is going to be too tight.
Yeah.
And she goes, my vagina? And you didn't hear her.
No, I didn't hear her.
And you go, no. Yeah, and I didn't, you knew she said something, but you didn't know what.
No,
so you were like, no, because you have to go like this with your arms and this, and this isn't enough room. You need to move. And she goes, my vagina? And at that point, my mouth, I grabbed my jaw, put it back in my mouth, I'm like, it's fine. I'm moving. And I moved because I am like, what? And I heard my vagina twice.
At least, I think. Maybe 3 times.
And I'm trying to think, does she speak another language? Now I speak Spanish. And there's nothing in Spanish that is my vagina. That is not. And I'm like, I don't know any other language where my vagina means, oh, I'm sorry, or excuse, or something else.
Yeah,
she legit said that.
Well, maybe it's like that Michael Scott, that's what she said. Because I said, I said something to the effect, it's going to be this is a tight space.
Yeah, she's like, my vagina's tight? What?
What?
So you didn't hear it.
No, I didn't hear it.
And you're just you see me moving.
Yeah.
And then you start, you're speaking up.
Yeah.
And you're speaking up for me, and you're like, I'm going to move because and you're like, I think you wanted me to hold firm with you or whatever, but after I heard my vagina out twice, I'm like, no, I'm leaving. And then you're like, well, I guess you'll move and not her. And then, I walk up to you and I'm like, Scott, when you said that it's going to be too tight in here, she said, it's my vagina. She said, I don't even know what that means.
I just
I don't
belly
know what that
laughing.
means.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just laughing.
So anyways,
I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, so you couldn't stop laughing. So now
people were looking at me like, what's wrong with that guy? Oh
and her butt is in your face.
Yeah. Well, thank God you moved because I wasn't moving from my spot. My corner is my corner. But, this lady was passing wind.
Oh, she was farting.
Many times.
And listen, it's yoga. And you get one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get one in yoga.
Okay. I've been going to Ed's class, I don't know, 3 years now.
Anyone's going to do it. It's
and
you.
I've never done it.
Yeah, I know.
0. And that's not, that's tough for me. Yeah. Okay. Where's Lumi? I need Lumi. Okay. So, yeah. So if I can hold it, you can hold it.
But she was not holding it. It was like popping.
Yeah. I mean, I moved
in your face.
Yeah.
And every time she did it, I was like looking at you. I thought I was going to die.
It's real weird. Yeah. And she'd always turn the wrong way. So she's always looking at me when he says, oh, turn on your right side.
And she's
now.
on her left.
She'd be on her left.
And you're on your right. You're making eye contact.
Yeah. And then she'd be like, turn on your left. And she'd be on her right. And it's like, what are you doing?
And she kept doing these leg lifts, and making eye contact with you.
She's botching my everything. I'm trying to do my, the balancing, I want to balance. You got to concentrate when you're standing on one foot and one hand is on the other foot.
Right.
And then there's her and I'm laughing. I can't even balance, It was crazy.
So,
all right. I'm glad we got to end on this funny note.
I don't know why we felt the need to tell you that happened to us today.
Well, I felt the need to lighten it up because of the House of Death.
I know.
But
so if anybody knows what she meant by my vagina,
please tell us.
Write in.
Yeah, write in. Tell us.
Write in. Share with us our thoughts because we are puzzled.
Yes, we are. And
it worked.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to sit down in the bus seat, let's say there's people, and you just plop down in a place that's really not a socially acceptable place to sit, and people are like, "Hey," just be like, "My vagina," and maybe they'll just leave you alone.
Right. You've said that many times today. We could change Jumanji to that word, and the other. But the thing is,
drinking game.
It was like, you had to move because there were when you moved out, at least there was a little more space. But she would have with these moves, her face or your face or whoever's face would have been in each other's body parts.
There was nowhere to put your feet off the mat.
Yeah, and then there's that move where you have to, I don't know what it's called, but you have to go downward dog.
Downward dog.
You would have put your face into her part that you've been talking about all these times.
I
so
know.
It's really strange. And I don't think we can even end on this note. So I'm going to end on the note that we finally got our 11/11 event up.
Oh, that's
because,
a good one.
We can't end on that
good job,
either
Scott.
with this lady.
Good job.
Yeah, parts in your face. And then it's overtime. So 11/11, we're doing an event, 11/10, 11/11, Fort Lauderdale Beach at the Bahia Mar Hotel. We have a great event. We've done this a couple of times. It's a lot of fun. People from all over
so fun.
the country come, maybe even international.
Everyone's best friends.
Everyone's going to be best friends.
Yeah, we got Canadians last time.
Yeah, we had Canadians from Edmonton and hopefully more this year because I think Toronto was closed or it was really hard to get at.
Didn't you
Toronto.
People from Maine too?
We had the Maine wall.
We had
5 or 6 people from Maine come. And they were protectors from Maine. So hopefully,
from the South Florida Purples at the bar that we didn't know.
The Maine wall. I trained them in the bar.
They
how
were
to
amazing.
Protect you. So they were great. Hopefully they come again. It's a fantastic time. We'll talk about it, and it's still a while away because it's 11/11, but we'll talk about it. Tickets are, I believe, will still be available at the time of this airing, but we'll end on that note.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. This podcast is for you and about you, and we're so glad you spent some time with us today.